Hello, and welcome to Oaklandside 510. I'm Tasneem Raja, editor-in-chief of the Oaklandside, and we are thrilled that you've joined us for our second episode. Each week on the 510, we'll catch you up on the biggest news, plus take a deep dive behind the headlines. Today's deep dive story. Oaklandside reporter Jose Fermoso will bring us stories of Oakland residents working to improve street safety in their neighborhoods, sometimes working with the city and sometimes taking matters into their own hands. Those stories, headlines, and we'll get to hear from more of our readers coming up. All right, I'm here with Darwin BondGraham, our senior news editor, to run through some of our latest headlines. How you doing, Darwin?
Hey, I'm good.
All right, let's get into the news. Let's start with this one. Here's the headline. Can a new developer finally get Oak Knoll off the ground? What was that about?
Yeah, Oak Knoll is a huge piece of real estate in the city. It's 190 acres in the Oakland Hills. It was a Navy hospital built in 1942, but the Navy left a long time ago. So for a couple decades now, the city's been trying to redevelop it, but it's been really challenging. That could change soon, though. It's now run by freehold communities. They're promising about 900 homes on the hillside.
Is this market rate housing, affordable housing?
Yeah, this is a big market rate project. It's like townhomes, single family homes. Market rate housing was, being built at a pretty fast clip in recent years, but actually that plummeted recently. So if this does get off the ground, that would be like a rebound for the city.
Okay, we will be watching to see if construction actually gets off the ground. Here's the next story I want you to talk about. The fight over the future of Oakland's $45 million security contract continues.
Yeah, Oakland has a lot of buildings. There's City Hall. There's a couple buildings on the plaza. There's a municipal yard. There's other city facilities. A lot of this stuff needs to be guarded. Right now, the company running the security is ABC Security, but city staff recently recommended Allied Universal. That's a big national security company. It turns out the city council prefers a different company, Marina Security. It's smaller and it's run by an Oakland business person. It's a big fight. I don't think we know yet who's going to get the contract.
Okay, so you have city staff recommending one contractor, but then the city council pushes back recommending another one. Why?
Yeah, behind the scenes, there's a lot of lobbying. The city council, they prefer Marina Security, partly because it's a small, locally run firm, and that's something council members care about a lot.
All right. Mayor Barbara Lee announces major investment in Oakland sidewalks and curb ramps. That sounds like a big deal.
So 2 Oakland residents who use wheelchairs to get around, they sued in 2023 over broken sidewalks and missing curb ramps, which make it just impossible for them to get around the city. So the plan would include building or repairing up to 11,000 curb ramps and 78,000 damaged sidewalks. That's going to take a long time, maybe like 25 years to get done.
All right, here's a recent story by Eli Wolf, our City Hall reporter. Oakland Coliseum sale takes another big step forward.
Is it ever really going to happen? Will we ever actually see the money? This deal has been in motion for years. The city famously and maybe disastrously tied its budget to the sale of the Coliseum last year, and it never really, came through. The money never came through. Now the county actually has taken a pretty significant step towards reassigning its sale of half of the Coliseum, right? Because remember, the county owns half of the Coliseum. So they're now saying, we're going to sell it to this same company that the city of Oakland wants to sell it to. I know it's really confusing, kind of technical, but it is a really big step toward possibly one day the Coliseum area could be like essentially a mini city in East Oakland, just filled with housing and like entertainment venues and other stuff.
Okay, thanks so much, Darwin. Coming up, how Oakland residents are pushing for more traffic safety in their neighborhoods. Every week, our newsroom gets emails from Oakland residents who are fed up with dangerous driving in their neighborhoods. Cars speeding, running red lights, making unsafe turns, and participating in sideshows. Last year, 30 Oakland residents were killed in traffic fatalities. The city has put a variety of measures in place to make the streets safer, but for many residents, it's not enough. They want more solutions in their neighborhoods now. But how do you make it happen? To tell us more, we're joined by Oaklandside transportation reporter Jose Fermoso. Hey, Jose.
Hi.
First, I think it's important to start with a recent tragedy that in some ways represents the nightmare scenario. I'm talking about the death of Marvin Boomer, a beloved Castlemont High School teacher who was killed in an awful traffic collision in May in the Clinton, San Antonio neighborhood. Jose, tell us what happened.
So Marvin Boomer was walking after work with his girlfriend, Nina Woodruff, near his home. A man named Eric Scott Hernandez, who was being pursued by the California Highway Patrol, slammed against a hydrant. The hydrant went into the side of Dr. Boomer's body, almost instantaneously killing him. Dr. Boomer pushed his girlfriend, Nina, out of the way, but he died at the corner there.
So I know there are a lot of questions around why CHP was pursuing the suspect. For now, I want to focus on the collision and the street where it happened.
Yeah, so I went up and down the street and I spoke to everybody that lives there or goes by there. And almost everybody that I spoke to said that they had to constantly look up and down the street if they were going to cross. There were parents of children that refused to cross the street because they just thought it was too dangerous.
So I've spent a lot of time on East 21st Street because I drive it every time I drop my daughter off at school. And I've seen everything you're describing. And I had noticed that there were no speed bumps. And then just a few weeks ago, there were. How soon after Dr. Boomer's death did those get installed?
About 6 weeks. And we think that it's the fastest any sort of action after a tragedy has occurred.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why was because it was Dr. Boomer. And when he died, everybody started asking questions why. And the biggest answer to that question was there were no physical obstructions that would have slowed down the driver.
So I think the question that this story brings up is, how do you get the city to act before tragedy strikes? You've also reported on a different San Antonio neighborhood, one that was being overwhelmed by what felt like near daily sideshows, and how residents there have mobilized. First of all, for our listeners outside of Oakland, what's a sideshow and why are so many residents so upset about them?
So a sideshow is a situation that comes from community gatherings where car lovers would show off their cars. It started in the 1960s, and it was just about showing off how cool your car was. And then in the late 90s, this started to change with more people started stunting, spinning, and burning rubber with their cars to make super loud noise. And importantly, other people would stand nearby, almost daring the driver to get close and hitting them, almost like a bullfighter inside of a ring. Sometimes the participants even have guns with them. Sometimes they shoot them off. It's generally causing destruction, and that's part of the goal.
So there were a lot of sideshows happening in San Antonio?
All the time, especially over the last few years, near the intersections, when they were burning off the tires, smoke would go into these homes, almost smoking people out of their own homes in the middle of the night, and was driving people crazy. So at one point they decided, I've had enough and we have to figure out a way to stop this.
So why aren't the police shutting these down?
Well, they've tried to do that. But as with other problems around policing in Oakland, they don't have enough people to do that. And so we've had instances of over 500 different people at these sideshows with dozens of cars. And so when you only have 3, 4, even 5 police officers in their cars, it's still not enough.
So San Antonio neighbors are fed up with this and they took things into their own hands. What did they do?
So last summer, 2024, about a year ago, they started improvising by adding tire islands on different intersections.
What's a tire island?
Basically, it's a traffic island made of tires. They said that it stopped a lot of the sideshows. So then they started adding little hard plastic rubber bumps all over some of the intersections, which also made it really hard to do sideshows. And then when they were done with that, they had more of these tires in the middle of East 21st Street as medians, so that it was impossible to do the sideshows. However, within weeks, the person who was speeding on that road collided into one of the big truck tires and flipped over. That person went to the hospital, suffered severe injuries, and ultimately, according to some of the lawyers that we spoke to, it was the city that was responsible, even though the residents were the ones that put that in.
Oh, right.
And that led to this whole brouhaha where the new transportation director Josh Rowan went in there and had a big community meeting and told them that they should stop doing this because even though it was helping them reduce the sideshows, it was putting the city and the transportation department in a really difficult legal situation. I mean, we're talking about potentially tens of millions of dollars per person that is injured or killed because of these things.
Okay, so it sounds like there's been this back and forth. The residents put stuff out in the street. The sideshows do stop. Then the city says, this is dangerous. We have to come and haul it away. And so it's been rinse and repeat over and over again. Where do things stand now?
They're in conversation, the Department of Transportation and the residents of San Antonio, to have something done over the next few months. But we don't know yet what will be done there.
So we've heard about two neighborhoods. In one, the city reacts to a tragedy and does something that residents were requesting for years. In another, residents force the city to respond through guerrilla actions. Our third story is about a more collaborative approach. So tell us what happened in Rockridge.
So I'd say it's an attempt at a collaborative approach that has gone totally haywire.
Oh, no.
Basically, what's happened is that for years, the people in this part of Rockridge, which is the area between Claremont Avenue and Telegraph Avenue, they've said that a lot of people use these local streets as ways to get through the neighborhood in a really speedy way. And so there's a sense of being fed up about the speeding and about the danger. And so for years, they've tried to engage with the transportation department about doing something.
They're saying, hey, our kids are playing on these streets. This is not safe. The city's got to do something about it. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And so they decided to engage the Oakland Department of Transportation and said, what can we do here? Let's slow things down. After many months of conversations, last year, the Department of Transportation said that they wanted to put in a diverter project. Basically, a diverter is what you've seen a lot in Berkeley in particular, which is either a K-rail or these like giant planters that force people to make a left or a right.
But the nature of a diverter is that it's going to divert people off of one street onto another. And some of the people living on those other streets said, wait, hold on. We don't want traffic getting diverted onto our street. So they started to push back.
That's exactly right. And so there was a really difficult meeting in December trying to figure out whether there was going to be a diverter or not. Ultimately, the director of transportation, Josh Rowan, decided there was going to be a working group that included people from every street that would decide together to come up with traffic slowing solutions. And so that began in January.
Okay, to recap, we start with this dangerous situation where people are driving onto smaller streets. OokDOT says, hey, we can put in some diverters here. But other residents get upset because they don't want traffic diverted onto their streets. The city says, okay, we're going to work with all of you. Let's form a working group. Where do things stand now?
Well, let me explain what happened, which was that they had a working group. It was 6 sessions over 3 months, and they came up with a lot of really good ideas. But ultimately, the Department of Transportation, Rowan, went back and said that while those were good ideas, they will go back to the diverter idea. And that frustrated the people that got into this working group in the first place in order to come up with something besides diverters.
Oh, man. Okay, so this sounds like a story of residents and city employees trying to figure out a more collaborative approach to a solution, but it still ends up with a lot of people feeling frustrated.
And you know what? I think it's important to note that one of the people that was involved was Buffy Wicks, who is a state representative and who actually lives in that neighborhood. We've gotten some emails that show that Wicks, for the last 2 years, has been in contact with city officials about adding infrastructure in there to slow down cars. So the fact that she's involved as a public official speaks to people's fears about how quickly can we get things done in my neighborhood.
Ultimately, it sounds like this was a very fraught process. Is the city doing anything to make it easier for residents to lead these changes?
So over the last year and a half, the city has been developing a community traffic calming program where people that are interested in slowing their roads down could go to OakDOT and say, what can we do here? And can we literally either bring concrete, put down cones, figure out a way to create a speed bump alongside Department of Transportation staff members who will be supervising all this.
Okay, thank you, Jose. I know you're going to be doing a lot more reporting on this in the coming weeks, and we're going to link in the show notes to the stories that we've been discussing here. Definitely hope you'll check them out. Up next, Oaklandside readers tell us more about their third space, a place outside of their home or their work where they go to relax, rejuvenate, and connect with others.
Hi, this is Bruce McCarthy. My third spaces are the pickleball courts at Bushrod Park in Oakland. I go there for the dopamine hit that I get from playing pickleball, from the ultra positive and upbeat vibes, and from the interactions I have with the friendly people there.
Hi, my name is Faith, and my third place is Kinfolks in Uptown Oakland. I grew up going to cozy coffee shops to hang with friends, go on dates, read a book, or study. And I miss the warm, inviting vibe of these spaces with comfy couches, beautiful art on the walls, and familiar faces of both humans and dogs. So it's nice to step out of my apartment to get a breather, grab a coffee, and get the right amount of social interaction at Kinfolks.
I'm Jenny Burrows, and my third place is the Jack London Aquatic Club on the Oakland Estuary. It's the home of my rowing club, East Bay Rowing, as well as Oakland Youth Rowing and Berkeley High Rowing teams. Our members range in age from 13 to 88. It's a magical way to see the dawn in Oakland with a view of downtown and of San Francisco.
This is Lawrence. Entering Cleo's is like a calm in the midst of a storm. Having descended a short but challenging stairway, you come to realize that you've entered a beautiful, kinder, gentler place where books, history, knowledge, thought, and conversation run supreme. You're in a space that you've been searching for all of your life.
Okay, that's our show. Thank you for listening. Oaklandside 510 is an experiment that we're trying out here at the Oaklandside. We're planning Oaklandside 510 to be a 10-episode series for now, but if you love it, we would love to do more. We are going to be reaching out at the end of this pilot run about ways that you can help us keep it going. And by the way, if your business or your organization would like to sponsor some episodes, we want to talk to you. And of course, we want to hear what you think. We've been reading everything you guys have been sending in. That email is editors@oaklandside.org. Thank you to Jose Fermoso, Oaklandside's road safety reporter, for joining us to talk about his reporting. Thank you to our senior editor, Darwin BondGraham. Thank you to our audience and everybody who shared their stories about their third place. This show was produced and engineered by Charlie Mintz. Esther Kaplan was the show's editor. I'm editor-in-chief Tasneem Raja. See you next week.